Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT grammar questions out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problems that we are about to solve are the ones that you will find on page number 720. Please turn to it. Page 720, and today is our lesson number 28. There are 18 of these questions, therefore the first 6 in the series are easy, the next 6 are medium, and approximately last 6 are hard, or loosely speaking if you like. The ones that we see on page number 720, they are all easy. On the following page on 721, in the first column we have the medium question, in the second column we have the hard ones. The ones that we are about to do, they are all easy, straightforward questions. Number 12 that is, it says brand name prescription drugs are often more familiar to consumers. Now, had that been the end of the sentence, brand name prescription drugs are more familiar to consumers. Had that been the end of the sentence, that sentence would have been perfectly fine. There is nothing wrong with that sentence. That tells us that the answer, we do not know what the answer is, but the answer is not A or B. Answer is not A or B. Let's carry on then. It says brand name drugs are more familiar to consumers than the generic drugs, but the latter are not nearly as expensive than the former. As you can see clearly where the problem lies here, the problem is it has to do with idioms. Now idioms typically show up in the hard questions because, as I always told you, idioms are very difficult for a non-native speakers to master. But here it appears in the very first question because the idiom that they're testing here is very simple, very straightforward one, which is they are not as expensive as. The latter are not as expensive as the former, as expensive as cheap as fast as slow as. It's a very simple, straightforward idiom. The answer is D. The latter are not as expensive as the former. Number 2, the next one. Number 13, rather. In 1508, the Spanish explorer Juan, the same Juan who later would seek the fountain of youth, landed on Puerto Rico. Now, had that been the end of the sentence, let's talk about it. In 1508, Juan, the same Juan, the same guy, that's not underlined, the same is underlined, the same guy who later would seek something, landed on Puerto Rico. Now, had that been the end of the sentence, this sentence is perfectly fine. And they go on to say, accompanied by a small force. Accompanied by a small force. Accompanied by a small force, there is nothing wrong with that part. So one more time, in 1508, the same explorer, in 1508, the Spanish explorer, Juan, the same Juan who would later seek the fountain of youth, landed on Puerto Rico accompanied by a small force. This sentence is fine the way it is. There is nothing wrong with it. It doesn't need any changing. It doesn't need any correction. The answer is E. The answer is E. Number 3. Because they painted the scenes of life as ordinary people lived it, so far so good, there is nothing wrong with it. Because they painted the scenes of life as ordinary people lived it, rather than the scenes from the myth, many 19th century American artists differed from many 19th century artists differed from earlier times. The problem here is we're talking about artists. Many 19th century American artists, they differed from what? The artist cannot differ from time. The artist, the problem here is what is known as parallel structures. The artists have to be compared with other artists. The artists of one period rather, had to be compared with the artist of some other period, not some other period itself. So here it should read, because they painted the scenes of life as ordinary people lived it, rather than scenes from myth, many 19th century American artists differed from earlier, not time, but earlier artists. So apparently, earlier artists did not paint scenes from the ordinary life. They must have preferred to paint scenes from mythology, from myths, as opposed to scenes from ordinary life, scenes from lives of ordinary people going about their ordinary, mundane, pedestrian life. So here we need artists. Now I just used here, they prefer to paint the lives of ordinary people going about their ordinary, mundane, pedestrian lives. Let's learn this word, pedestrian. Pedestrian means, it has two meaning obviously, you already know the first meaning. Second meaning of the word pedestrian is how we just used it, which means mundane, ordinary, dull, banal, hackneyed, cliché, something that is not out of the ordinary, something that is an everyday, day-to-day humdrum routine. When did we learn the word pedestrian? I'm looking at my list here so that I can tell you the day. Day number 13. So if you're interested in learning the word pedestrian, as we just used it in the context, along with some other useful words that will help you raise your score in the reading portion of the exam, just type in SAT vocabulary words, day number 13, and you will learn this word along with some other words, as I said. A synonym of pedestrian would be ordinary, mundane, day-to-day, hackneyed, banal, cliché. You understand? Something that is not novel, something that is not unique. Anyway, let's go about it. Number 14. Because they painted, we did number 14. Let's go to number 15. Few issues of public policies are as likely to provoke widespread interest as few issues of public life are as likely to provoke interest as that of something, something, something. That's our sentence. That's our sentence. As I always told you, always learn how to, the point of this exercise, rather, is to learn how to concentrate on the juicy bits. Ignore the boring bits. It says few issues, plural. Few issues, as you can see, few issues are as likely to provoke interest as what? As it says that involving possible danger to public or possible danger to health or safety of children. One more time. Few issues are as likely to provoke widespread interest as, not that, but we have plural here. Issues are as those issues that involve possible danger to the health or safety of children. Few issues provoke widespread interest as those involving possible danger to children. So we need plural pronoun here instead of that. We need those. We need plural pronouns because this pronoun here does not agree with the subject of the sentence, which is issues, which is plural. Number 16. The young fish were very tiny. The young fish were very tiny. All right, fine. So far so good, there's nothing wrong with it. Yet each of them ate many times, yet each of them ate many times its own weight in solid food every day. Each of them ate many times. Should it be their own weight, or should it be its own weight? Well, for that we have to understand what the subject of sentence here is. This sentence, the way it is written here, it says each of them. We're talking about each of them. Each is singular. Each is singular pronoun. Each is singular, and therefore it should say each of them ate its weight in solid food every day. This sentence is fine the way it is. It is fine the way it is. Why? Because each is singular. For example, you would say, we would not say each of the boys are sick. Would you say that? Would you say that each of the boys are sick, even though it is boys here? No, because here each is what we're talking about. Each of the boy is sick. Or you would say every one of the boys is sick. Everyone is singular. You would not go around saying every one of the boys are sick. Do you understand? That's all. We would not go around saying everyone are happy, would we? We wouldn't say everyone are happy, because everyone is singular. Each of the person are happy? No, I don't think so. Each of the person is happy. Everybody are hungry. No, everybody are not hungry. Everybody is hungry. What number did we just do? Number 16. Let's do number 17. In the opinion of the lecturer, a background in the history of the Middle Ages is not a condition necessary. This is a tricky one. It is not a condition necessary in something. It is not a condition necessary in something. It has to do with idioms. One more time, I'm going to read the entire sentence. In the opinion of the lecturer, a background in the history is not a necessary condition in it says the enjoyment of the literature. Let's write the whole thing instead of being lazy. In the enjoyment of literature. It is not a necessary condition. What is not a necessary condition? A background in history, knowledge of history. How about that? Instead of saying it is, how about knowledge of history? Knowledge of history is not a necessary condition, not in, but for. It is not a necessary condition. Knowledge of history rather. Knowledge of history is not a necessary condition for the enjoyment of literature. Necessary condition for the enjoyment, not in the enjoyment. The idiom is for the enjoyment. You understand? So the answer there was C. We need for, not in. The answer was C. One does not need to buy fancy equipment to enjoy, or you can say for the enjoyment of whatever game that you're talking about. or of jogging, for example, or whatever the game it is, for the enjoyment of baseball playing. But you will say for the enjoyment of, not enjoyment in. That's the idiom. Number 18. Driving less frequently is one way to save energy, which is fine. Driving less frequently is one way to save energy, which means answer is not A. To turn off all appliances, to turn off all appliances is another. It says driving less is one way to save energy. Driving less is one way to save energy. It goes on to say to save energy. To turn off all appliances is another. What's the problem here? The problem here is this part. To turn off. It has to do with parallel construction. Driving less frequently is one way to save energy, and turning off all appliances is another one. Not to turn off is driving with ing, driving. So it should be turning off. Turning off. Driving less frequently is one way to save energy, and turning off appliances is another one. Now if you didn't want to change this part, if we had a liberty to change that part, we could have changed this part. We could have started out by our sentence by saying to drive less frequently. To drive less frequently is one way to save energy, and to turn off appliances is another one. That would have been perfectly fine, as long as they're consistent. This is called parallel construction. Parallel construction, number 6 in our list. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. Just like that one. I'm just going to make it up, okay? Let's see what happens here. Eating less is one way to lose weight. To exercise is another. My handwriting is atrocious. Wait. Eating less is one way to lose weight. To exercise is another. Again, this is not consistent. It has a problem with parallel constructions. So starting out by saying eating less, ing here, eating, it should say eating less is one way to lose weight. Exercising with ing is another one. Or if you didn't want to change this part, we could say to eat less. Let's change this part. To eat less is one way to lose weight, and to exercise is another one. But I like the first way better. It goes smoother. Eating less is one way, exercising is another way to lose weight. Number 19. After Gertrude, this is a very straightforward one. This has to do with after she had swam. I change the sentence. Forget about the way it is written. Let's look at this sentence, the way I wrote it in the blackboard. After she, I change the sentence completely. Okay, just listen to me. After, it should say had, not has. It should say had. Not that it matters. After she had swam, she sung. What is wrong with this sentence? Or to be more precise, what are the things that are wrong with this sentence? First, they both have to be, both of these mistakes that exist in this sentence, the way I wrote it, has to do with tenses. The second item on our list here. After she had past perfect of swim is not swam but swum. Past perfect of swim is swum. I swim. Yesterday I swam. I have swum with a U. I know it sounds weird to you. It sounds weird, but it is the proper grammar. The past perfect of swim is not swam. Past perfect of swim is swum. After she had swum, what else is wrong with it? She sung. No, sung is the past perfect of sing. Past perfect of sing is sung. Is sung. We do not need past perfect here. We need past tense. She sang. After she had swum, she sang. That's it. So here we needed a past perfect, and here we had past perfect. We didn't need past perfect. We need past tense, simple past tense. What's the difference between a past perfect and a past tense? Do you understand the concept between a past perfect and a past tense, or present perfect and present tense, or future perfect and a future tense? It has to do with, listen carefully, the past perfect has to do with the concept, the notion that there are two things that are taking place, two actions that are taking place, both of them in the past. They both have already taken place, but we are trying to convey the idea that one took place before the other. And if that's the situation, then the one that you're trying to say took place before the other in the past takes what is known as past perfect. Let's take a look at one more here. So here, that's it, we are done. After she had swum, not swam, she sang. Let's look at one more. Okay? Watch what happens. I had already ate when you called. As you can see, there are two actions taking place here, both of them in the past. One is the calling of the person made a phone call to this other person in the past, and the second action that is taking place here is the first person eating something. We're trying to convey the concept that this person, the eating took place before the phone rang. That's what we're trying to convey here, and therefore, because the eating took place before the phone rang, the eating part needs what is known as past perfect. This won't do it. This is the past tense of eat. We have eat, then we have the past tense, which is ate. What we need here is past perfect. It should say eaten. I had already eaten, not ate. I had already eaten when you called, when the phone rang. You understand? That's what's wrong with it. We needed a past perfect of swim, which is swum. And that's all they're trying to see there. I will see you tomorrow, where we'll continue with the problems that you see on the next page. Alright? Bye now.